A lot of Fortnite fighting, if you really think about it, it is playing defensive, but it's about how fast you can switch from defensive to offensive, right? So like you're 100 HP, you pre-fire the guy for 180, and now you can play offensive, and he has to play defensive. And so like it can switch in an instant, right?
None much, just chilling. I'm not gonna lie, a bit nervous, but we're here.
Don't be nervous, brother.
Oh man. All right.
Let's get it, dude. What you want to focus on? What do you want to do?
I feel like a big thing for me right now is like my fighting, and I feel like that's holding me back in tournaments.
Okay.
Because my biggest problem is I always feel like I'm on the defensive, like because I like box fighting. I would rather box fight anyone in the tournament than build fight them because I feel like once like I start build fighting and everything, I kind of lose track of people. Like my awareness kind of goes out the window.
Okay.
And it's easier to box fight, and it's kind of like I don't know. I feel like, especially when I'm playing my friends and they like know all my moves and everything like that, it's like I'm always on the defensive. Like I always kind of like I'm never really aggroing. I'm kind of just waiting for them to make a play instead of making a play.
Okay. I've got you. Okay, so you want to get better at playing offensively and better at playing defensively, essentially, right? Like you want to make sure that when you are playing defensively, you can still play offensively. Offensively. Yeah. Okay, got you. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I think I definitely need to see you as a fighter. I want to see you kind of do your thing. I think the best thing we can do, I'll let you kind of pick if you want to we can 1v1, or I can have you screen share and you can go against somebody and I can watch you then. I think either of those work.
I've seen like a lot of the videos, and like I could just do like a 1v1 realistic real quick because my computer's like decent enough to handle that. So
let's do it.
Hopefully I find someone decent though. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, he's about to say that's always the issue.
Nice. Okay, there it is. There's my thing.
That looks decent.
He has a little sweaty skin on, and the pickaxe. Oh, he might be nasty.
Random shotgun.
Don't do random. Pick something else. Pick a pump.
Gold
Hopefully it works.
Shotgun.
Yeah, usually. Okay.
Nice. Okay.
I can't see footsteps. I hate this.
Oh yeah, no visuals.
Oh no. I can't hear. Oh, it went random.
Yeah, I think his vote won.
Oh, that's a crazy piece. That's nasty. Oh, you got above it.
Nice.
Oh, I didn't put my stair. There we go. That was dumb on my part. What even? No!
Oh! Oh!
Oh man.
There's a lot of gun delay on that pistol.
Yeah, that felt ugly. Buddy. Man, what's the crank? Oh, my shots. I gotta hit him. Okay. That was creative.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Love this game. Okay, man. All right, bud. All right, man. Get away, get away. Easy, easy, man. Ooh, David, you got me there. Oh, I'm dead. Appreciate you that. Appreciate you. Oh, man. Ooh. That's crazy. Okay. Oh, I'm the worst. How do I miss that? Man's face was like literally just begging to be hit. No, you're hitting me.
Nice.
Oh my god, I got out. Where is he? Oh, he's playing like 2 levels above me, bro. Come on. Get a grip. I should be boxed if he attempted. Ooh, good shot. I shouldn't have baited it. I shouldn't have tried it. Oh.
All right. Okay. Don't worry about rematching this guy. I got a bunch of notes here. We're gonna go over them. Hey, I mean, overall, right? I took a good amount of notes, but I think they're they're all fixable things. It's nothing that's like you have a lot of the fundamentals down, which is good. And obviously, you have an understanding of the game, right? Like building, piecing, the way it works, the way it can work against you. But yeah, there's some things that like will definitely I like right away. I noticed a lot of things that could help, like these small details that could help you get that upper hand when you're, because a lot of Fortnite fighting, if you really think about it, is playing defensive, but it's about how fast you can switch from defensive to offensive, right? So like fighting a player, like for example, a great one is pre-fires, right? Like you're playing defensive, you're 100 HP, you pre-fire the guy for 180, and now you can play offensive, and he has to play defensive, and so like it can switch in an instant, right? So it's not always bad to be playing defensive. It's just about how fast you can switch to offensive.
Yeah.
All right. So first thing that I wrote down that I instantly saw you could, like again, you could switch to offensive if you were successful with it, is to pump and build through. Right. So it's very simple. I'm sure you know how to do it, but just knowing when to do it and like seeing the opportunity. Right. So the best scenario, it was one of your earlier rounds. You were hit kind of weak, right? And the guy was coming on your wall here, right? He had it kind of weak from above, I think, right? It was like this. He was like drop down, right? And the wall was about 1 HP. Okay, you were inside this box, and all you have to do is when he drops down is pump, grab the wall, and grab the cone. So that's simple, right? Like we both get when you go grab this guy's wall to put a stair in, right? So we can understand phasing, right? We know how to put multiple pieces in, right? Same thing with like you're grabbing a wall and you're putting a cone in, right? Like that's understandable. So it's the same thing whenever you're getting aggroed, is you can just simply, if your wall's 1 HP and he's coming from above or any angle, doesn't really matter the direction, and you got your wall weak, right? As soon as he's here, you don't have to wait for him to be on the wall. You could simply just piece the control, take control by just pumping and putting a piece through. Or even like, I mean, you've probably done it before, you pump and put like a wall through like that. Like that's like easy, right? So that right there could have caught the guy. You put a cone through, now he's bonks his head. Now you have a chance to go for a shot. You know, you hit the player, right? You catch him in the cone, boom. Or maybe you just take it and go up and, you know, piece this and go for another one, right? There's a lot of opportunity now you can take from that. So that's the first thing I wrote down, is just pump and build through. Like always be looking for those opportunities to pump and build through.
I never really thought about it like that. I've always thought about like that as like more of an offensive weapon instead of like a defensive one.
Yeah, offensive isn't like you go down here on this guy's wall and you
like you put like a cone if he doesn't have a like cone in there, or, or a stair or something.
Yeah, like this guy could easily, if he sees that I have nothing here, I mean this happens a lot, I'm sure, right? Like the guy's smacking your wall and you're holding it, and sometimes you can go like this and like you could grab the wall back. Let's say like the wall's weak and you're kind of just holding it, right? Or like, and then he, you know, backs away, like the timing is right. You can always grab the wall and do that and take it from the guy, right? Sometimes you'll even do like, let's say like the wall's wood right now, and you know, there's a guy who's gonna come aggro you, like, or let's say like it's in a late game, right? Where there's a guy who's tarped right here, okay, right? His team This tarp like right there, and you're like, oh, there's a team next to us, but our wall's in wood, right? Like you'd want to ramp this guy off, right? So you could do that to do it, or you could just simply do that. And now you're like, okay, we're good. You know, keep tarping out. All right. Oh, they're here again. Okay, no big deal. You know, let's just. I mean, you wouldn't want to do it with a metal wall. Again, it'd be a scenario where you have a wood wall. That's obviously a late game scenario, but yeah, in general, you can definitely use it in aggression, right? You're boxed up, you're weak, the guy's on your wall, and you just you put a stair through it, and maybe it bumps him back, and now he's like this, and you know, then you can go for the piece, and now he's stuck in your box, and you know how it goes. So that's the first thing I wrote down is just pump and build through. Just you can constantly be doing that. You can even be doing it through like you could even be spraying through. Like imagine there's a guy holding the floor here, right? Oh, this is a very common phase where you're spraying through. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, you're gonna get through that floor. You know, it might be yellow now, and then you're spraying through, right? You understand that scenario? Right, so when you're here, right, when you're spraying through it, and he's gonna phase it. You could piece the walls first, and then keep spraying. And now you have this piece here. Now you can, now you can go up and box him and whatever you want to do after that. Right, so that's another scenario where you can just shoot and build through, pump and build through. You could even, like I said, you can replace and build through. Like the guy's on your wall here, and you want to get a cone through the top. You can do that, easy. The next thing I saw that you have kind of a problem with, especially, and that guy wasn't even crazy with aggression, would be triple away when healing, right? It's very simple. Like again, you know how to do it. You know that like if you're healing here, you should be like this, right? But it's just the habit of building it, and it's also the speed of it, which I think that you struggle with. I think that's a big part of why it's so hard to do, and that's why it's a big part of why it's so hard for everybody to do, because there's a speed to it. Like everyone that started the game wasn't just like instantly like, quick at like looking down, hitting this at it, or like hitting the triple at it, right? Like you don't just quickly start doing this. And again, like we can sit in a box right here and do this all day, right? Like this is I can say like this is not a way to practice it, right? Like I'm not saying you need to go do this. This isn't bad, but it's not like what's realistic is what I always teach is edit, pump, reset, edit, right? So building that muscle memory of that combo right there. So when a guy's on your wall and you're going for a shot, let's say like he's like running across, you're like window, pump, reset, edit, right? Boom. Like the combination, again, it's not like you could practice this all you want, but you're not actually shooting, your cross replacement's different every time, right? When I'm going to pump this guy, right? I'm gonna go edit, pump, reset, and then again, if I was just practicing like this, this isn't practicing my flick down it and doing this. That's what really messes people up is they'll go for this and they'll go for like that, and then the guy will get the wall and they're like, right? Like you're like stuck on this. It's awkward, right? That's like always. That still happens to the best of the best of the best. Is they'll think they're doing like this and they just barely micro don't hit that and they go there and like and they just have to confirm it again. Does that make sense? So a big thing for you was just you just weren't comfortable with the speed of it. Like I saw multiple times, not only were you not comfortable just quickly doing this, like the guy would be here, and you go like this, and then the guy would rotate here, right? And you just wouldn't, like you're not comfortable with quickly switching it to this, and then maybe switching it to this and backing out, right? Like you're just not, you're not fully fluent and comfortable. And again, that just takes the same repetitions of, all right, I'm gonna play box fights. Every time I box fight, I'm not even gonna try to do the most damage. I'm not gonna go try to I'm not gonna try to go for the craziest shot. I'm gonna try to be the fastest to reset. So I'm gonna go for peanut butter, pump, reset, right? That could even be faster, right? That's what I'm practicing. I don't even care about my aim really. I don't care about like hitting the guy. I might even go for the spray like that, right? Like sometimes when you're box fighting somebody, you'll go for like the side piece.
Try to hit the wall,
right? Like you just gotta be this, right? Like how fast can you just do this, right? Because
it's funny. It's funny you say that, like the resets and everything, because I feel like at times, whenever I try to like diagonal box fight, I end up getting hit because I'm not resetting like fast enough.
Yeah. I mean, this can happen. You can lose a fight in a lot of ways, right? If you're not fast enough at flipping this, I mean, the guy could be in a diagonal box here. Let's say you grab his wall. Let's say you don't, and the guy could, come in and just spray in and kill you, or I mean, the guy could come over here, grab it, and if you're still struggling, he could pump you. There's a lot of ways that like this can be used in fighting, and the reason I wrote it down was for healing, right? Like a lot of times you'd be in a box and you just not be doing this. And again, I think this goes back to you just aren't comfortable with the idea of quickly editing this. Like this isn't a comfortable move for you, so you don't do it. Just like how the first people that like if you put somebody to play the game right away, they're not going to be comfortable with coming out and doing this, right? Like, this is not a comfortable movement if you haven't practiced it. But you know how to do this. You're like, I saw you come out here. You're like, I need to make space, right? Like this is comfortable. So sometimes you'll see like, you'll watch like your little brother or something. And you'll be like, dude, why didn't you like just build a box? And he's like, he's not comfortable building that box because he's not fluid with this movement. He hasn't practiced it, right? So we've both practiced this, so we know if we're getting sprayed, oh, no big deal. Make one more box on the outside and we're good. right? So same thing here. You're not comfortable just going for this type of movement, right? And so you don't do it when you're healing, and that's like a big negative in the game because, right, like the guy could spray in while you're healing. You could be like healing, popping your minis. Let's just say like you're popping minis right now. The guy sprays in, or he comes in behind you, or you get pinched, or you get edited, pre-edited. There's a ton of ways you can die by just healing in the box. It also just lets the guy see it. Like, what if you're popping a med kit, right? And you're sitting on that cone. It's like you want to be quick, like late game, right? You're tarping, you're running, you're like, okay, build a bit, right? This guy on height. Oh, I got fried by height. Okay, no big deal. Let me just, maybe I want to sit below it. Height's above me. Or maybe there's a guy in my lair and he popped this med kit. Really, really bad. I'm taking zone. Get the med kit off, but trip away. Because you don't want to be popping a med kit like this, just walking around your box, popping a med kit, right? Everyone's going to see this, that you're in wood, or it doesn't matter, brick, metal. They're going to see like, oh, there's a solo here and he's healing. Dead. There goes your game, right? Yeah. So be comfortable triple weighing your cone. And again, like I said, you can practice this all you want. Like you can sit in the creative and say, look at me, I can get my thing to 1 HP and make it invisible, or whatever the like old Zoomer kids would say. But really, that's good and all. But again, it's the way your movement is, like pumping and the reset, and then edit. Like this is a lot different of a movement of a mechanical play than just doing this.
Yeah.
I would say this is really, like, doing this a lot is going to be good for whenever you go like this and you mess up and you hit that, because you're going to be able to quickly just, right? If you're quick at doing this, if you mess up a movement, or if you want to, like, switch sides, like this will be helpful, right? Practicing this movement and not doing any editing of your walls and pumping. You're going to be, if you can get fast at this, you're going to be fast at what I'm doing, right? Like, there's people that are infinitely faster, or can just flip it, or whatever, right? So that was a scenario where like you just didn't put a cone, or you didn't edit your cone. And there's also times where like you'd go up and you'd meet the guy and you'd like, let's say like you guys would kind of just both fall in the box and you'd be like, oh, I'm here. And instead of like, you'd try to aim dueling him, right? Get him out, and he would like, he'd run away and get the wall, and then you guys would just heal. Instead of doing that, you could have just simply just edited it, wait for him to shoot it, pump him, come back down, right? It's all about being fluent in the cone. And again, like I said, that I just think that you struggle with being fluent, so you don't think that's an option, because you're like, the guy's in my box, I'm gonna go for the aim duel. But if if it's like Peterbot, if the guy's in his box, he could go for the aim duel, hits the shot. If he misses the shot, he's quick to this, he's out, or he's quick to edit it down and then back, right? For you, it's like, miss the shot, got to keep aim dueling because I'm not comfortable with, I feel like I'd do this, or I feel like I would just get stuck on this, and then I'm definitely dead. Yeah. So the next thing would be tossing cones over walls. So there's a lot of times where like you would start the round, right? It would slingshot you, okay, and you'd be like here, and you go for like a piece like this, right? And then the guy would be above you, and just simply you could have just slid a cone over the wall, just real quick like that. Just being efficient at doing that. Like you're seeing how I'm climbing layers while just slapping cones over, right? It's a lot of manual clicking. It's not like I'm not turbo building this, or else it would look like, if I was to turbo build this, it would look like kind of like that. It would just be everywhere. So I'm manually clicking these cones. Right, cone, click, click, click. Or like certain times I'm dragging and I'm using turbo build, but yeah. So just being efficient at doing that, right? Because there's a lot of times that you would just ramp at the guy, you guys would you'd sling at him, and you'd be here, and he would kind of come like this, right? He'd come up, and you would kind of just like, I remember you just went over the ramp, and you guys went for like 2 like pump fights, right? Instead of just like coning the guy, flipping it, and going for like a shot like that, right? Or any combination. Again, just having cones and being good at slapping them over walls is just infinite control in fights. Like if you ever watch Reap play Zone Wars, like he's just going to be, any Zone Wars player is just like they're spamming their cones, right? They're going to come out here and flip this, and then come this way, and mansel and slap cones out, and more cones over that, and like that. Just the guy who's versing me here is just not able to do anything, right? He's just coming up and he's like, oh, okay, I'm coned. Okay, I'm here. Oh, okay, I'm coned again. Okay, I'm coming out again. Right, and then by that time you're on height and you're established, and you can go for a jump shot or whatever you want to do. So being efficient at tossing cones over walls and just recognizing when it's available. The next thing that got you a lot, which again I'm surprised, these are all minor things, so they're fixable, very fixable, because you do it a lot. When you build a box, right? I've watched you multiple times. You build a box, you would always build it with a cone in the box, right? Like you would always you'd be like, okay, I got to heal, make some space. I'd always see you have a cone in the box, but there'll be a lot of times where, let's say this is the enemy's box, and you're here and you're kind of fighting the guy, and let's say like there's a time where you like, let me just reset this wall. You had like this guy's stare, it was like that, and you were like, actually no, it was like this. It was like this. Remember this? And you were kind of like spraying, and then you got it, and then you went for like this, and he was underneath this on the cone, and you tried to grab him the wall. You got the wall, then you got the stair back, right? And then you were like, does this make sense? You're picturing this.
Yeah, I remember that part.
And then you went around and like you had this wall, and you edited it like this, and the guy just went bonk, and you're like, oh, and then he came here, and he was getting PC, and you're like came back. Like that whole situation is just so fixable by just, oh, this guy's, you know, I want to go on this wall, okay, bump, dead. Oh, let me go around, bump, right? Cones down. You can't do anything, right? Like, boom. There's multiple times where you just get ramped off, or yeah, the guy would just ramp you off, and it's just like you have a chance to hit a shot there, or flip the fight from defensive to offensive, right? Just by hitting that 160 or 100 damage shot.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, again, like you have it a lot in your box already, so you're like, no one's doing it to you. Or like no one's coming over here to take your wall, and I didn't see anybody ever do this to you, right? Where they're coming like this. I didn't see that happen like one time, but you would do it to the other guy too. He would be on your wall like this, and you would go like this, and you'd box him, or some combination of that, right? So just that guy also needs the same tip. He needs to just keep fighting with a cone out. If he's gonna go on this wall right here and smack this, right? He's gonna put a cone here before. He's not just gonna put like a floor or whatever. Even if you piece this wall, it doesn't really matter, because the guy can just. Boom, now you're just here again, you're stuck on it, now you're going for this, and you know, now it's a mess, right? Now he's out and above you and whatever he wants to do. The next thing is to be able to reset the fight, right? So I saw a lot of times where you would just be out, like you'd have no control, right? So there'd be a lot of times where you kind of be on your back foot, and you'd be like going for a shot, you know, you come over here, you'd have space, but then the guy would like have like a edit like this. Like I don't know, you'd have some piece on you, and then you'd go for something like this, and then you flip it, and like you just struggle to reset the fight. Like you need to learn how to reset the fight and take control again, right? So a big way to do that is just by making safe space, right? Like I don't know if you've seen my videos where I've talked about the snail. The snail's a great way to do that. Like I've been doing it in every fight, but
I heard you mention it once. I forgot. Like it was like I forgot what video it was about. I think it was like you talking about something about like you and your duo and how you use the snail, and I don't know what that actually is.
Okay, I'll explain it. So yeah, but a lot of times like you just struggle to make like a good amount of space. You would kind of be you'd kind of be like box hopping. You like I saw you like a couple times you'd make a door here, and you'd come here, and then you'd like then this would be your space, and then you know you'd come up, and like this would be your, you know, it just looked like you're always like on the run, and it's like because you don't know how to make consistent space, right? So be able to reset the fight, that's mostly snailing, but again, you shouldn't be whipping out the snail a lot. It's the snail is breakdownable into just a singular 1x1, and I'll explain the snail in a second here when I go through these notes. But being quick at every version of the snail, I would say, like I said, there's levels to it, right? Like again, you start with a 1x1, then you start with a 1x2, then you build the actual snail, right? So being fast at all those levels will help you can take control faster. The next thing that I saw you do was just kind of struggle with in box stair edits, right? So you'd like have a guy boxed right here, and you know you'd go for like something like this, or you went for like this, or even worse, the guy like edited down and you kind of like went for like this, or it was just like you were just kind of messy, right? Simple, keep it simple, right? The best thing you can do here, if there's a guy in this box, is one of these, this one or this one, because it gives you a peek here. You can also just do this edit, reset, and come here and go for that shot. You can do, I mean, there's a lot of combinations. The big benefit to editing the stair towards the player is it gives you a peek, right? Like I'm sure you've seen this peek before where the player goes like that, right? And you can kind of jump out. Like that's a really handy peek, but it gives you that opportunity, but also it gives you a clean reset. So if the guy's here and you're like, oh, I missed, no big deal. Now he's still behind my stair. Let me get another angle. And then again, you don't always have to go for an edit like this, right? Like the game isn't just one dimensional. Like you can do this a couple times, again, because you have the control still. Like, oh, I missed, no big deal, he's still behind my stair. Oh, I missed again, no big deal, he's still behind my stair, right? And then again, you can go for one of these, like, okay, final shot, boom, dead, right? Like he's not, because he's eventually the players are gonna expect like, oh, you know, go here. Oh, he edited again, go here, right? Like they're gonna kind of just bob and weave, or they're gonna eventually grab it and make the play against you, or maybe they're gonna just, you know, maybe they'll wait and just run at you. They'll run at the gap, right? Like where the wall's edited. So you're not saying you have to do it every single time, right? That's a bad habit to do. You don't want to be every wall edit doesn't need to be a window. You know, it doesn't have to be the same thing every time. So you can still use this to your advantage though, and just if you have the first shot, if you get a guy boxed and you have the shot to take a stare at it on the guy, the first instinct should be, should I do left side or should I do right side? or which side is my most comfortable on, which side am I faster on? Because again, speed is everything, right? So that's your, if it's the right, if it's the left edit, it's the left. If it's the right, it's the right. And then again, you know, after a couple rounds of doing that, you'll still have control because it'll reset towards you, and then you can go for one of these, or you can go for a flip, you can go for a, you know, you can even make it a cone and go for an easier shot, whatever you want to do. Okay, and the last thing I wrote down was just retakes, right? I want to teach you some simple, effective retakes. I'm sure you've seen all these and heard of them, but I think the big part of your game is your fluidity, right? Like, I'm no Peterbot, and right there I'm getting stuck on a wall, right? Like, so there's times where I'm not a fluid builder either, right? Like, not everyone's in, you know, S tier mechanics. So it's just about being fluid with what happens, right? Like here, I get caught on that wall. Okay, no big deal. I spin it around and turn it into a flip, right? Like here, let's say I get caught on this wall again. No big deal. I'll just spin it around and hit one of these. Like just being fluid in your movements, right? Like, oh, I went under my stair. No big deal. I'll just flip it into this, right? Like, right? That looks like maybe it was on purpose, but I perfect world, I was on top of the stair, not below it, right? But instead of like getting like, oh, I'm below the stair, let me just wall here and then, you know, then come out and then reset the fight and then go for something, right? Like I don't have to do that if I just know that I can be fluid. Like, okay, I missed that, like below the stair, like there I was below the stair, so I just came out to the side, and right. So just again, just flowing with your builds. It just takes time, but in general, some small retake stuff that I think would be handy for you to know and master would be the Thwifo cone retake, which is super simple. I'm sure you've seen it, but there's a lot of times where I saw you when you were below the player. Again, just because you know what it is. If you know what the Thwifo cone is, which I'll just show it, you know what it is, right? This is the Thwifo cone. You've probably done it before. Take it as like, okay, great. You know what it is. I'm not repeating it. It just means that you aren't fluid at it, right? Like you know that you can edit. You know how this is an edit, right? Like when you're healing, you should be doing this, but you're not fluid at it. So I was explaining to you why and how you can be fluid at it, right? So I never saw you pull out a Thwifo cone, and I think that is simply because you aren't fluid at it. So you just have to sit there and be like, okay, hey. You know what? I'm pretty good at it already, but I'm just not comfortable pulling it out in a fight, right? Like, can you just do that quick combination right there?
That's my biggest problem. Like, whenever I'm, like, there was even this, the one side jump, like, I saw you do, like, where you put, like, that side jump right there. I've been, like, practicing that, but, like, I haven't really been bringing it out in fights yet because I'm not comfortable.
Yeah. So, dude, all that takes, like, dude, take me back 5 years ago when I was in creative doing this, or like in playgrounds back in the day. I would literally sit here and be like, okay, I remember myself in my room sitting there and be like, okay, all right, 1, 2. Like I remember it starts like this, right? Like you didn't start building a box doing what I'm doing, or you didn't start side jumping doing what I just did, right? Like that's not something you can just pull out of nowhere. And if I wanted to do that in a fight, what I just did, I could do it because I'm comfortable, I'm confident to know that like I know what it takes to execute this move, right? And so that's what it is. Like you know what the Thwifo cone is, but you haven't practiced it, right?
Yeah, so I think last time I did Thwifo cone,
I would say make sure these 3 things you have down, right? Because again, I've explained this a lot in previous like videos or whatever. But I would say these are the main 3 that you're gonna want to know how to do, right? And again, you know how to do these. You've seen these. You've done them before. I know you have. But you just have to work on them, and I can explain the fundamentals of it in a second here briefly, because I think again you know what it is, you know the combination of it, but it's these 3, right? So it's going to be a diagonal jump, right? So can you just go to the right infinitely, right? And notice my crosshair placement. Notice my, you know, I'm not doing this. I'm not moving crazy. I'm keeping it really smooth and consistent. Because again, when you're going to box somebody, or like when you come down here and you full piece somebody, right? You don't go, you know, like this to box somebody, and then you have to adjust your mouse and aim and lock on, right? It's gonna be real quick and smooth, right? So same thing when you're doing a diagonal jump in any of these moves, right? It's real quick and smooth. Can you do a smooth diagonal jump to the right? Okay, great. Can you do it to the left? Infinitely, right? Like you actually want to be able to do this infinitely because it's not a hard maneuver. I would say once you add in walls, right? Like there you're seeing I'm messing up, right? Like it just takes a little bit more time, right? So I guess you could say I can't even do that infinitely. So I guess honestly, agreeing with my point is like I wouldn't do a left diagonal jump with a wall in game because it's a little difficult, like for me, right? And that means I need to practice it. I know what it is. I know how to execute a regular one, but that's not always the best thing to do. So and then again, can you do it to the right? And can you do it with a right with a wall, right? I can do this. Oh my god, so many builds. I can do a right diagonal wall with a or right diagonal with a wall every time. Like, and if I need to do this in game, if it was me and you in a 1v1 and it was like God said fucking diagonal wall to the right, I'm doing it. Like, easy. Like, right? No, not even a question, no hesitation. The next one would be, so we got diagonals to the left and right. We got side jumps, right? Those are where you just simply turn your character and look to the right, right? So here I'm doing an infinite to the right. And then again, we can throw up a wall to the infinite to the right. And as you can tell, I'm probably not the absolute best. Also, this is such a hard one to do over and over because your character is moves in such a tight kind of spot, right? Yeah. So you're saying I have to really slow down, and that's fine.
Yeah, to keep that momentum.
Yeah, and then can you do it to the left, right? Can I go infinitely side jumping with a wall to the left? It's a little harder, but I can do it. So that's that one, and then Thwifo Cone, right? If you can throw all these together, I mean, you can do a combination of them all. And again, that's what ultimate flow looks like, right? Like how I explained to you earlier, how like, you know, oh, I went below, no big deal, right? Because I know that I can just hit a little Thwifo Cone, you know, hit a Thwifo Cone, come here, mantle up, right? Come up here, slap cones over these walls, right? Like I've got all this flow down and it just feels natural. When I mess up, it's natural, right? And again, I'm not Peterbot, but if you can imagine me being natural, imagine Peterbot being natural. It's like everything looks like it's on purpose, even though it may be an accident, right? Or he's just so perfect that he never makes an accident, right? Like he never messes up a side jump with the wall, right? That's a possibility too. But that's peak mechanics, and that's something that like it'll take majority of the people playing the game a long time to get to Peterbot's level. It's just hard, right? Like that's the skill gap. But it doesn't mean that I'm not on the same level as Peterbot. I can still compete against him. I can still kill him. I can still, right? Like. You don't need those mechanics. Peterbot's not dropping 70 bombs in the finals lobbies. He's still playing like pretty much every other player is. So those 3 build maneuvers, right? And just mastering them. Again, I'll go quickly into like the baseline of it, but you understand it. And so I want to just make sure that you understand that, how do I explain this? I want to make sure that you can also realize why it's working, right? So for example, the diagonal side jump to the right, or the diagonal jump to the right rather. Diagonal to the right, okay? Why this works is because of where I'm standing, when I'm jumping, and when I'm placing my builds, right? So if you mess up, right, like let's say I challenge you, say, hey, look, I want to see how many times you can side jump, you know, in a row, right? Like I want to see how many times you can just, you know, infinitely spin just like this, right? How many times can you do this, right? If we were to look back at this, and see how I messed up, it's because I messed up on one of the core mechanics of it, where I jumped, where I stood, and the times the placement of the builds, right? Like the order I placed them, right? So if I'm messing up on a diagonal to the right, if I mess up here, I'll try to make myself mess up. Okay, it's because I jumped at the wrong time, or it's because I stood at the wrong ramp. So understanding like the breakdown of it, right? Like when you do a Thwifo Cone and you come here and you cone yourself, it's like, okay, why did that happen? You have to be able to answer that to fix the problem, to actually become a master of the Thwifo Cone, right? So if we want to look at why I did that, is because I held my turbo build down for too long, or it's because I'm looking below the 150, right? So if I'm looking below the 150, all right, we'll place this. If I look here, below the 150, it's going to place here. If I look above it, it's going to place above, right? So it's about crosshair placement again, just like when we talked about when I messed this one up. It's about where I'm jumping, where I'm standing on the ramp when I jump, the placement of the builds. If I place this later, I might go below it. So same thing here. It's like when you're doing this, it's about the order and all of that, right? So that all builds consistency. So if you're struggling with it on your own, you're like, hey, I keep messing up the Thwifo Cone, right? Now you understand how to analyze what goes into it, right? Like if you're messing up diagonal jumps, you go back and say, okay, did I bonk my head? Okay, that means that I was too high on the ramp. Okay, did I over jump and go way out to the side and miss like that? That's because my jump timing, right? Or did I miss the place and place below it? That's my placement timing, right? So it's like if you can break down all those things, you can do any maneuver. Like you could break down any maneuver and say, okay, look, this is why I'm messing it up. A lot of times, like this one, when you're doing like a cone flip and you're going up, right? Like that. It's like if I mess that up, where that means maybe it was my crosshair placement on the cone, maybe it was my jump timing. A lot of times when I started doing this, I'd come out here and I'd go like this, and I'd get like this, and I would try to be getting these two, but it'd be my crosshair placement, right? So I started working on that. I started making sure that every time I did this, I made full edits, right? And sometimes like you'll see I'll like bonk my head, like I'll like come here. It's like, okay, that means that was my position on the ramp. That's why that was hard. That's why that didn't work. Or maybe I jumped too soon. Maybe I went like this, and now I'm there, right? Jumped too soon. So all those things help you analyze why you're messing up your build patterns, and overall will make you a smoother builder, which again, it makes you more flowy and kind of lets you be more elusive, right? Like whenever you're fighting somebody, like you're not getting trapped as much. And again, like I said, I'm not some crazy mechanical player, but if I'm going against Peterbot, he's not going to trap me 99% of the time. You know, eventually he's going to probably get me just because he's so much faster than me. But that's the beauty of the game, is like I can still live for a long time until I eventually either run out of mats or mess up like majorly. And then again, if I mess up, why did I mess up? Oh, because I tried going for a diagonal jump and I missed my jump and I hit the head or whatever it is, right? So those are all the notes I took down. Kind of, I went a little deeper into explaining retakes because I think that's a big part of improving.
That's always been one of my weaknesses, though. That's why like I want to box fight so much, just because like I'm just scared of like as soon as we go into that A or whatever, like I know it's like choppy and everything like that, and I've been struggling so much with it because like there was this one YouTuber that was like how to get better in mechanics or whatever, and like I learned like those first 5 building things, like how to do a clicks 90, and then like I like had a high wall and everything like that, but everything still felt kind of weird. Like even with my clicks 90s, it feels like choppy.
Yeah, I mean, it's practice, right? Like, yeah, you learned it from the guy for the day, then the next day you're like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna keep practicing that, and then the next day you're like, oh, I forgot about practicing that, and then you know that continues, right? Like, so it's just like, yeah, just go back, rewatch the video, or like re-listen to this, or right, like, I mean, you obviously you know what you need to practice. Like, if I was to think about all the build combinations, it's this, it's the Thwifo cone, it's a side jump, it's a diagonal jump. That's pretty much it. Like, if you can do all of those, I mean, and then it's cones over walls. It's like cone placement, right? Like being able to be quick at that. Like if you can do all of those efficiently, dude, spend 3 days on each. It doesn't matter. Like it could be spend a week on each. Could be spend a day on each. Like I literally, like I told you, I remember spending a day just doing this. Like I'd be free building and I would just make sure I'm doing this. I remember also recently I'd spend a day when every time I'd build fight somebody or like box fight or whatever, I would only do window edits. So I would just practice like my window piece, my window like peaks, right? Like just challenge yourself to only do window edits. It's difficult, right? It's not like that's not optimal fighting, right? Like you don't go into a ranked game or like a FNCS Grand Finals and be like, I'm only gonna make window edits, but it's about being really good at that one thing. So there's some people like that you probably know that are really good at 90s. It's because they just only practice their 90s, but they suck at everything else. Like that's because they only practice their 90s. There's players that are only good at this because they haven't practiced the Thwifo cone, but they spent days and days and days practicing this, right?
I think that's why like I'm somewhat decent with peaks. Cause like I used to like just like sit up there and like it was like Raiders thing, and I would just like do peaks for like 20 minutes a day, just so like I know like I'm behind my peak and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you're really good at box fighting. You're really great at peaking, but everything else needs to be worked on. And again, the greatest thing is these are all easy things to practice. Like you're seeing right there. That's like, you know, I do this as my warm up, and that's it. Like every day, I just make sure I'm sharp on what I need to be sharp on, and I'm good. Like I genuinely, I've probably spent a day mastering this. Like I just spent a day. Like I was like, oh, this is a new piece of tech people are doing. This is like, you know, a new build style people are building out. This is like pretty recent, right? This is like in the last maybe 2 years that people started doing this. So it's like, yeah, took time and started practicing it, and here I am. Now I can do it every time, and I can whip this out whenever I need to. Okay, the next thing I wanted to go over was the snail. Okay, we'll go over the snail. So the snail is simple, right? Like whenever you're fighting somebody, you're quick at building boxes. Actually, let me first start with this, just to make sure we're on the same page here. So Fortnite boxing, right? Let's say I'm running in the open here, I get sprayed. Okay, it's about the pattern, or you can't build here, but it's about the pattern at which you build the box, right? When you're getting sprayed, it's a little different than tarping, right? If you're like, your teammate's like, yo, I have max mats, just tarp it out, right? Like you would have a different build pattern than when you're running in the open and the guy shoots you in the back and you're like, oh, you know, because you're gonna obviously you're gonna turn around and block the back first and then build everything else. But understanding that there's a pattern in both of these, right? So when you're running in the open, you're like, yo, watch your back. Oh, there's a guy behind you. Turn around. There's a guy behind you. You know, obviously you're gonna turn around there, hit these, and then, you know, then worry about your back, right? So, but even in that, right, there's a pattern, right? So same thing when you're tarping, right? When you're tarping in game, your teammate says 5-5. You should be doing a pattern. You should be, you know, if you're full tarping it, it's gonna look like this, right? Like you're going up and down, up and down, up and down, right? Like if I'm stopping in cones, then you put the cones down, but for the sake of simplicity, right? It's a pattern. It's not like I'm doing it you know, this, or not like this, right? Like there's a pattern to it. So just like whenever you're building the snail, there's a pattern to it. So when we build our first box, right? This is a 1x1. We all know what this is. Then when we get aggressed, I don't know if that's a word. When we get fought and pushed, yeah, we build the 2x1, right? So this is done in a pattern. You're seeing I defaultly just did that, right? Went around to the right. Right, so this is a 2x1. We know how to play off of this. We can, go for a shot like this, whatever you want to do. You can, right, combo it however you want. And then the extension to it, which this is what becomes the snail, is you basically duplicate this, but you duplicate it not by doing this, right? Because this means if you do it like that, this means that the player, all he has to do is just come out here and say he's gonna come right into this. Like it would be this one, right? So and then you tarp right into it, and then you're dead. So when you're building the snail, right, you start with your 1x1, you build your 2x1. Again, this is why I was telling you there's levels to it. So if you get shot, hit by a sniper 500 meters away, don't build a snail. Like clearly the guy's not going to come at you. And then there's levels to it, right? If the guy's 50 meters away, like there's no like answer. I'm not going to say, okay, 75 meters, build 2. It's like you obviously go off of like your intuition and how the guy's, what he's doing. If he's spraying you, if it's 2, if it's 1, if you're weak, if he's stacked. There's a lot of different combinations.
Every situation is different,
Exactly.
Yeah, just try to react.
So sometimes you'll build a 1x1. Sometimes you'll build a 2x1. Okay, and then from now on, if you're getting pushed, if you're 1v2ing, if it's like an actual fight, like if you need that game to stay alive, to win the game, to qual, right? There's a lot of reasons to like want to extend your game. Let's say you're in first place and you really need to hold on for 5 extra minutes because you'll win at that point, whatever the situation is. The snail is super handy. This is like the #1 defensive mechanic in Fortnite. So you got your typical 2x1, which is the first part of the snail, and then the rest of it is just reaching out from this little middle point, right? You saw how the pattern was. Come out here, then the wall, right? So it's not a tarp. It's not tarp out and then do this, right? It's reach out, put the cones, and then the wall. The big part of the snail, and why this can be messed up, and I'll say this once, might say it again, but anything I'm explaining to you, it's all about execution. Everything I'm saying, you could be like, yo, all right, I'm a fucking demigod. I'm gonna listen to everything you said. I got it in my brain. I'm a master. And if you execute it all wrong, I can't help you. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do if you say, okay, wait, C said, build a snail when I'm trying to 1v2, and you put a stair here, or you don't put a cone here. Like, I cannot help that you just did this, right? This is obviously not the execution of the snail. So these things can be detrimental to the snail. Like, imagine a guy gets this, and now this box is pretty much gone, right? Because now he's here, and now he's smacking on this, or you have a stair here, and you have a stair here, right? It could be like that. Like look how bad that could be. You basically don't have these boxes. Now if this ever happens, you need to come out here and repeat the same thing, right? So every time you build a snail, it's important. You're seeing there, I'm getting all the pieces. I'm not missing a single piece, right? Even the wall. And then same thing with like execution of the walls, right? Like your walls aren't going to be like this because this doesn't make any sense, right? So you don't have to have them all edited, but you could have them, you could have one wall here and you could do this, right? If the guy's fighting you from this angle, right? So again, that's the base of the snail, and then it has extensions to it, just like we talked about for the extension of like a 1x1, right? So 1x1, the extension of a 1x1 is a 2x1. Oh my god. Right? The extension of a 1x1 is a 2x1. Okay, the extension of a 2x1 is a snail. Right? So you come here, got all the pieces here. Now when you're getting pressured again, let's say the guy gets this wall. Okay, he gets this cone. Right? Now you're like, oh, okay, this guy's fighting me, because it's gonna happen, right? Like, now he's smacking you. Okay, what you can do is you can come back here. You can play through these boxes, right? You can have this angle here where you're fighting this, trying to take control back. You're gonna obviously want to continue to hold these down, like edit this, take this back, whatever it is, right? Let's say it's getting really, really, really aggressive here. What you can do is extend the snail, right? So you come out, whatever wall is back one, right? So it's gonna be, if the guy's over here, okay, it's gonna be away from the player, right? So this situation, I would go turn around. Again, same way I'm building it, right? It's not like a tarp where I'm coming through and hitting this and doing this. It's extended out, put all the piece, right? Got it all. And now, again, you can reset this wall. And again, look, same snail, it's back, right? Now let's say you're getting aggressed again. He's in your tarp. Like, let's say he came through here. He got this wall. He got the cone now. Like, he's really in it. Like, all this is his, and he's fighting you, right? Now again, you turn away from the player. You wouldn't want to come here and be like, hey, let me just build the snail this way, right? So you continue to push your back, go back from the player, which would be here, and extend it again. Snail one more time, and that's it. Once you get 2 extensions on an original snail, which is the 2x2, okay, you go up. So now let's say he's aggressing, you go up. He's in your tarp, right? Let's say he's here. You know, you get this back, whatever. Right now you're on his back, right? You got all double edits here. You can just, if he's in any of these top boxes, he's yours. Like, you're gonna kill him 100%. So if a duo's chasing you, right, if they're just like, yo, there's a solo here, key him. A lot of times I'll just be, they'll be spraying in, right? I'll be building the snail the entire time, and then they'll be chasing me. I'll just go up and say, hey, I'm here, dead. Put a wall, whatever, come back down. And then again, the big part of the snail is, this does waste a lot of mats, but this doesn't waste more mats than you doing something like this against a 1v2, where you're going up like pop shot, okay, come here, oh, pop shot, oh, I got hit, I'm cracked, I'm weak, okay, wait, I need to make more space, come out here. Like, this whole sequence, right, where you're build fighting somebody is way more mats than just the snail.
And the thing is with like those mats is, with the snail you can always reuse them.
Exactly.
Those mats are just kind of gone.
Exactly. They're completely gone. So that's the great thing too, right? Like, if you go up and you're like, let's say you build this all thing, right? And you come up here and you go, boom, hit him. Okay, you hit him 150. Now you're like, okay, I get some more time. You come back in here and you say, okay, hey. And now they're running off. They're going to kind of reset the fight themselves. The duo is, I'm just going to come here and grab this and take this back. And, now I have the entire space here. And then again, you can start kind of crouching around, playing kind of lurk. Because you have so much space. You can... Like, you've probably done it in box fights where, like, it's like a stalemate at the very end, and the guy's like, why are we playing like this?
Like,
and you're like,
where
like
you
this.
at, man?
Yeah, you're like this, and you're crouching around, and eventually you just lurk up on him and do whatever you want to do. So that's the snail, and again, it can be pulled out so many different times in the game. It's infinitely useful. I did it in grand finals multiple times. I did it in FNCS heats multiple times. I've informed my teammate on it because, again, that's a big thing, right? Like, hey, snail. Like, your teammate needs to know what that means. If he doesn't know what that means, you're not really doing anything together. Also, a big thing that you can do in duos is, a lot of times I'll send my fragger. I won't send him, but like, I'll kind of call the fight earlier because I'm just not as mechanical as him. So I feel like I'm a bit more of a risk. So a lot of times we'll be build fighting a team, because every fight should start in a build fight, because if not, it's going to be a box fight. And at the end of the day, if the players want to grief you, they can grief you, because they could always just come back over here and just use their entire inventory of ammo, all of their mats. Like, a box fight can come down to like the ultimate grief for both teams, but a build fight could come down to, you guys cone each other, and let's do this. Right, you guys cone each other here, and you goes for 100 on each of you guys, and then you box up and you guys run away, right? And that's it. That's the end of the fight. That can happen in a build fight, but if you just instantly go to a box fight, not only is the player going to think you're bad, but again, the guy could just use all of his ammo. He just looted the entire POI, and now he has 700 bullets in their entire duo, and they can just spray you, or they could just infinitely pickaxe your cone, right? Or one of them's holding, like, imagine like you're snacking this right here, and this guy boxed below it, right? The guy, your teammate could literally just be like this, like, hey, just pickaxe it. I'm just gonna sit with you. He'll just sit like this, and you'll just go, and the guy will just infinitely hold it, and you're not even trying to replace it. The guy's just like, you're just burning through his mats, right? Every pickaxe break is gone, and if he makes a play, right, your teammate's already here next to you. Boom.
Yeah.
Right, so
that's actually so troll. I never.
Yeah,
I'd be upset at a tournament.
Yeah, that's why every fight should kind of start with the build fight. So a lot of times in duos, what I'll do is, we'll both be build fighting. We'll go for a side jump. A lot of times, honestly, I'll get a guy like boxed, or maybe I'll get slightly pieced, and I'll trade damage with him. Like, I'll never like don't trade the shots. Like, we'll 100 on both of them, right? And then my teammate will be like, oh, he's obviously selfie, so then he'll jump on this guy, right? Let's say like the fight's not going well, or I can tell like we're losing a lot of heals or a lot of mats. I'll say, hey, look, like, you're good to keep fighting, do your damage. I got you a snail build on here. Like, you're good. You can come be defensive if you need to. Like, I'm good. I'm right here. Or like, obviously, I'm not gonna like let him do a 1v2. Like, I'll drop down and he'll keep fighting. I'm like, yo, come down. I have a snail. So he's like, okay, I'm down. Now I have a snail. And again, he knows what this means. So he knows how to play it. He knows how to extend it. He knows how to, when to come back to it. He understands everything I just explained to you. Right? So he has a base now to go down to. And let's say like, you have 500 mats on both of you, 500 brick each. Okay? You both build fight. You see that you're at 250. You might want to call the fight early, so that way at least you have a home base, right? Because if you just keep going, you're eventually going to run to 0 builds, and your teammate's going to run to 0 builds, and you both don't have a base, and now you're ratting through. Now you're like doing one of these where you're like trying to flip it, and you're like editing through, and you're like playing off this, and you come up, you're doing one of these rap plays where you're like sitting on a floor, you're waiting for him to drop so you can flip it and go up. Like, these rap plays almost never work out because there's such little space. Yeah, so that's the snail explained, kind of in a longer form, but it's extremely useful. I would also say competitively in your POI, make sure you have like a snail spot in your POI. So I don't know if you can see my.
I just see Fortnite.
Lazo, blur the screen, by the way. Yeah, so like look here, right? So you see my screen?
Yeah. GG's.
So yeah, so like right, island restored, right? So we have like an agreed upon snail spot. If we get fought down here, this is our snail spot. If you can imagine the restored, this is an open area, right? So this would make sense why this would be a snail spot.
Billboard?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So if we get fought in main building, our snail spot is right here. Again, an open area. You know, we don't want our snail spot to be inside a billboard because there's little walls. There's, you know, you got to replace things. Right. So if we get fought over at pool, our snail spot is here or at the pool because again, it's open. It's not like, hey, come into the building here and try to make a snail. Like I'm grabbing this wall, replace this wall, do that, like it's not that, right?
Yeah, it takes too long.
Takes too long. Exactly. Also, another big thing when you're snailing, again, execution, right? It's how you do it. I could tell you everything I just told you, but if you don't hold your back wall while you're getting sprayed, right? Imagine the guy spraying this back wall here, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna build a snail, right? And then he's just bleeding through bullets and you die, right? Like I can't help you if you can't like understand that pressure, right? Like you have to just you have to be able to hold this wall, right? Come here, hold the wall, right? And then come out here and hold the wall still, you know, do that, hold the wall. Okay, now I have the snail set up. Now I can go from this side of the peak, let him, you know, maybe now I let him break the wall. Maybe now I go for like this, you know, I start spraying back, whatever it is, right? So execution is really, really important.
Okay.
Cool. Got any questions?
Well, will there be like a? Oh, so it's echoing a little bit.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like, will there be like a way I could see any of the notes you've taken? So like I could like.
Here we go, 100%.
Yeah.
Those are all the notes I took. So pump and build through, trip away when healing, tossing cones over walls, cone and box when fighting, right? Pump, edit, reset, pump, right? That combo. Be able to reset the fight, take control again. Could be the snail. It could be just simply making quick boxes. Could be a lot of things. In box stare edits, right? We talked about that, like how you're gonna do it, which one makes the most sense. And then retakes. Teach simple but effective, right? I didn't teach you anything where I'm like, yo, slap 5 cones over and jump up and hit 5. Like I'm teaching you like a diagonal side jump, a regular side jump. Life
Nothing too crazy where I gotta do like 5 edit throughs or something.
Yeah, there's actually no editing in that. Like there's none. So
I realize that.
Yeah, so it's like that's why they're simple, effective, and they're not heavy map burners. They just a couple builds here and there.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, so I can like try to build my like warm-up routine around it now. Like if I just want to actually play with friends, or like if I just want to like, you know, like you said, like sit the entire day and just learn how to do the retake. You can do that too.
Yep.
I think that might just probably be the best since like it's about to be the weekend.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely the best thing.
So I gotta get the most yield from that.
Definitely.
And like trying to understand like when to use the snail and like how to do it like perfectly, you know. I was kind of in like the free builds every now and then trying to like understand like how it works and whatnot, and it's still like it's a bit like hard getting like the crosshair placement of it, but it's like I'm doing the cones and then floors and walls.
Yep. Yeah, it's all about the build placement, timing you place the builds, the way you jump, the movement, how you jump, the speed you jump at, the angle you're jumping at, right? And that shouldn't get you overwhelmed. It's really not like an infinite amount of things. It's really all those things are very minor, and you probably do those without even thinking about it, right? Like when you build a box, you're already doing the crosshair placement, where you're looking to place the builds, when you're placing the builds, right? You're already thinking about all those things instantly. It's just like when you're learning anything new, you just have to master it, take your time, and then understand if it goes wrong, why it went wrong, right?
Yeah, it's weird because like I just don't think I have enough repetitions of it, because like I understand what you mean, because like I know exactly at that point where like a cone, if you're looking at a wall, it will place like down or place up. Like I know exactly at that spot.
Yeah.
To like do like the minimal crosshair movement. It's just like I'm probably not doing that in game because I'm panicking.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. You're panicking, but also you're not comfortable executing it. Yeah.
Thanks for the lesson today, and I'm definitely gonna work on this stuff. Try to, see what I can do, and maybe next time try to focus on something else. But yeah, have a good one, man.
Sounds good, dude. Thank you so much. I'll see you later.
You too.
Alrighty, that's a wrap. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that. I know I've definitely explained these all a lot in the past, but I do feel like this is one of the better videos where I condensed it and I explained it all. I think this guy really has a lot of potential, and I think a lot of you guys watching this have the same, very similar potential, right? Like, you guys know how to do these things. You like this is not to be disrespectful to the player, but this is an average thing, right? Like you're slightly better or worse at a certain aspect, and so improving on those things and actually knowing why and when and how to improve on those things is the number one way to improve, right? So, and I will say, with all due respect to myself, right? Like I started out like the exact same way. I didn't know what I was doing. I had to learn all this myself. So this is obviously me coaching somebody. Obviously I've learned these things. Obviously I know why I've been successful and how I've improved myself mechanically. And so these same things that I'm explaining to this guy, the same thing I do to myself, right? So like when I'm learning a new retake, if there's a new piece of build tech, whatever, right? Like Clicks 90s comes out, another version of it. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sit in creative, learn how to do it, learn how to master it, learn why it's good, every little detail about it, and get it down. I'm going to do it for days straight, days and days and days until I get it down. And so you guys can do the same thing with every part of the game, aiming, any part of the mechanics, any of that. So yeah, I'll end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to hop back into the groove of things. I'm excited to get things rolling again. So if you guys aren't in the Tuesday Thesis Discord, join the Tuesday Thesis Discord, discord.gg/thesis. We're cooking up in there. Chapter 5, Season 3 is about to be crazy, so let's get to it. All right, later.